All right, guys, what's up? Patrick here at All Day Eat Like a Shark. Today we are going to be cooking some tofu kabayaki. So welcome. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing. Again, my name is Patrick. I cook Japanese food each Wednesday live for the summer of 2018. This is my season 2 of live cooking, and let's see, what did we do previously? Let's go and take a look at some of the things that we made previously. So if this is your first time here, welcome again. And let's see. So I wanted to show you last time. So we started our first episode with gendara misoyaki, which is black cod. Then we made a little bit of somen noodles, which are a light summer dish with some sesame sauce, some shiso, and some green onions. And then last week we did some miso chicken with potato salad and moyashi goma ae. So today we're going to be doing something completely different. During the summer in Japan, one of the popular things to eat is unagi, also known as eel. We're going to be doing a little bit of a different take on that recipe. Unagi kabayaki. We're going to be making tofu with the kabayaki sauce. So it's going to be a little bit different. The flavor is going to be pretty similar. So I hope that you're excited. This is a really tasty recipe. It's pretty straightforward. And some of the ingredients I have ready to go here. And let's see. So first thing that we should do is boil some water. So if you've never cooked with tofu before, it has a lot of water. It comes soaked in water actually, and we need to dehydrate it as much as possible. So first thing that we're going to do is, oops, let me switch to my C camera. Alright, so first thing that we're going to do is drain it, and then we're going to boil it in water. So that helps. That's another way that you can dehydrate the tofu. Another way that you can do that is by putting a heavy object on top of it, and that'll squeeze the water out. But boiling is a lot easier, so that's what we're doing today. I'm just going to break this into little bits. Doesn't matter. We're going to boil it for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to process it with some potato starch and some Yamaimo, which is a Japanese mountain yam. And we'll get to that in a second. So this is a 16-ounce block of tofu. So I'm just going to cover that. And don't worry about overcooking it. If you cook it longer than 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's all good. Okay, so this is the Yamaimo here. I'm going to go ahead and peel it, and then we're going to need about 70 grams, 60 to 70 grams worth. It's going to be a little bit more than a quarter cup roughly. So this gets really slimy. We're going to grate it, and then that's going to really bring out the slime. So if you've never had this before, it has a very subtle flavor. Goes really well with soba, udon. You can also just eat it with rice, or you can cook it and season it. Like you can simmer it. It tastes really good with just some rice and soy sauce or shoyu. And this is what we're using to hold the tofu patties together. This and the katakuriko potato starch. So some recipes use pork and panko, I've seen, and I've tried that. I've also tried kamaboko, or fish cake with what was it? Fish cake and starch. It's another way. But they all have their own unique flavors and characteristics. So today we're going to keep it relatively simple, and we're just going to go with this Yamaimo and then corn or potato starch. If you can't find potato starch, just use cornstarch. You can sub that on a 1-to-1 basis. Okay. So like I said, this is super slimy. And what I'm going to do I'm going to use a paper towel to grate it. Let me just check the status here. Sorry, I don't have my chat up today. So if you're sending me messages, I won't be able to respond until after the fact. So, let's see. I have a little scale here. We're going to go ahead and weigh out how much we're going to use. We're just going to need about 70 or so grams, 60 to 70 grams, which is about a quarter of a cup, like I said. And this is my grate. So I'm just going to grate over it. Where did I already threw away my paper towel. So like I said, this is super slippery, so you can use a paper towel to hold it. That's what I usually do. And we're just going to grate it. All right, so see, it's super slimy. And let's see how much this weighs. So just a little bit more. And I'm just going to tap this. See if that should get us to the right amount. Yep. I will save this for breakfast tomorrow. So here's our Yamaimo grated. Next thing that we're going to do is wait for the tofu to finish boiling. And meanwhile, we can prepare the sauce. So where is my saucepan? I thought I cleaned my saucepan, but I guess I didn't. I don't know where it went. Saucepan, where did I put you? That is so strange. I have no idea where my other saucepan went. Okay, since we can't find it, we're just going to cook the sauce on my small cast iron. And I have the ingredients for the tare, which is the sauce for the kabayaki, ready to go. This is 2 tablespoons of mirin, a quarter cup of sake, half tablespoon of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of shoyu or soy sauce. So we're just going to cook this over medium to low heat and let it reduce. You want it to get thick. And that's going to be our sauce for everything, for the tofu kabayaki. Just going to add that to this pan. Make sure to stir to dissolve the sugar. So I'm going to put that on medium heat. Keep an eye on it. You don't want it to boil and get dried out or burnt. So there isn't that much liquid, so just keep a close eye on it. Tofu is boiling, so the next thing that we're going to do is get the patties ready for mixing. So we're going to process everything. This is a tablespoon of potato starch, katakuriko. It's going to help to keep everything together. We have our Yamaimo that we just grated. It's about a quarter cup's worth, 70 grams-ish. And once the tofu is boiled, all we have to do is cool it, make sure that all the excess water is gone, and we're going to combine it in this thing, add a dash of salt, and then we're going to spread it over some nori. So this is seaweed, dried seaweed, same stuff that I use for sushi. Looks like it's about to boil. Okay. And so let's get out the nori, let's get this ready. And then I have my cast iron pan here, ready to go. We're gonna put in maybe, I don't know, quarter cup of olive oil, and that's what we're gonna cook the tofu patties in. And they're gonna get nice and brown. They're gonna taste really good. Almost lost some seaweed there. Okay, so the sauce is starting to boil. I'm just going to turn down the heat to low. Okay, and then this is the seaweed. Once we layer the tofu patty mixture on top, we're going to cut it into little bits. You can cut it into the shape of unagi or eel if you want to, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to cut it into a few rectangles, and then we're going to fry it on the pan here with olive oil. If you don't like the flavor of olive oil, just use canola oil. So I'm going to put it on here, and then we'll get this started. And then I have rice, just regular white rice. That's what you want to use. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. And then we're going to use a bowl. This is a donburi. And we're going to put in the rice. And then we're going to put in a little bit of the tofu kabayaki. And that's going to be our dinner. Super easy, super tasty, and very healthy. I guess the most unhealthy part of this is the frying. But we're not using that much oil, and we're using olive oil, so that kind of makes up for it. Okay, so the tofu's boiling. Give that 5 minutes. Oh no, water boiled over. And turn down the heat. So let that go for 5 minutes, and then we'll strain it. Put this away. And then I guess while we're waiting, one thing I guess I should mention is that aside from this sauce, there's many different variations. A lot of the restaurants in Japan use different proprietary secret sauces that are passed down generation to generation. Oops, my flame went out. All right, let's switch the burner. Turn on the heat. Give the sauce a little stir. So some of the, what I was saying was that some of the sauces that you'll get in restaurants, they're very different and they're secret. But mine's not secret because I'm telling you how to do it. So I was going to put this away. And if you've ever had unagi in Japan, you'll note that the flavor of the sauce, the tare, actually tastes like unagi, and that's because they dip the unagi in the sauce after they cook it the first time, and that all that oil and all that unagi flavor gets mixed in and gets concentrated. It adds a lot of complexity to the flavor profile, and unfortunately, unless you're cooking a lot of unagi, you won't be able to do that at home. But that's one more reason to travel and visit Japan, right? Right. Okay. So the sauce is coming along nicely. Just a couple more minutes for the tofu, and then we can go ahead and cool it off a bit and process it, and then we'll preheat our pan. And for seasoning, aside from the sauce, one thing that you should use is sansho pepper. I don't know where I put it. Sansho pepper is a very unique spice. You can put it on all kinds of different things, like mapo tofu, unagi. This kabayaki that we're making today smells like pepper, but it doesn't really taste like pepper. It's more herbaceous, and it's got a unique flavor. Tastes really good. Highly recommend you invest in a little bottle if you haven't already. And so yeah, pretty straightforward. And what should we do now? So the sansho. Oh yeah, so a few tips. If you don't want to boil your tofu, you can just put a weight on it, like I said. That takes maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes longer if you were to do it that way to get the water out. And tofu is actually something that's ready to eat. You don't need to cook it, so that could be one way you can do it. See, in terms of the flavor, if you really want to enhance, if you want to change the flavor up a little bit, what you could do instead of use all olive oil is you can substitute a little bit of sesame oil. If you want a different I guess, more complexity, but I think this tastes pretty good already. And let's see, so the rice. And then once we start cooking the tofu patties, so we want to cook the tofu patty side down. So the nori is going to be facing up. And, okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn off the heat. And then as soon as you notice that the patties start turning a gold brownish color, you can go ahead and take it out and they'll be ready to serve. So, pretty easy, right? Okay. So tofu's done. What we're going to do now is just cool it off under some cold water. And we're going to process it in my food processor for about a minute or so, just until it's thoroughly mixed. And then we'll spread it on the nori, the dried seaweed here. And one tip that you should incorporate when you're making this is to use a little bit of oil and coat your spatula as you spread it on. That way the tofu mixture won't stick to your spatula, assuming you're using a silicone spatula like I will. Okay, so I'm just going to squeeze out any of the excess tofu here, or the excess moisture, not tofu. You want this to be as dry as possible, because if it's too wet, it won't set and it won't taste very good. So you can see there's a good amount of tofu coming out, or water coming out. Make sure you're going to get another paper towel. All right. Just keeping an eye on my sauce. Put it on all the way on the low setting flame. So your tofu should feel somewhat dry to the touch. This one's a little bit wet still, so you keep squeezing. They also have like a little tofu squeezing device called the Tofu Express. I actually just ordered one of those to help me with my tofu cooking adventures. I usually just boil it, but this device seems to make it a lot easier by squeezing out all the water, by putting pressure. I think it's a spring-loaded device. So the spring pushes down on the tofu, squeezing out all of the excess water. So I should be getting that later this week. Okay, so I think all of the water's gone. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the food processor and we'll just process it. And again, you want to use firm tofu because the texture will be very close to fish, or eel, which is a fish. All right, I'm getting hungry. So, oops. I'm going to preheat my pan. You can see the sauce is getting nice and thick. Let me show you. Where did my towel go? So here's a close-up of the sauce. It's a little bit thin still, but I think by the time we're done cooking, it should be relatively thick, and it smells really good. It already smells like the kabayaki sauce. Okay, so for the olive oil, I already put some in here. So once that starts shimmering, let me start the processor. Not mixing all the way. Let me stir it up a bit. So while we're waiting for this to finish up, what is your favorite way to eat tofu? Let me know in the comments below. Love to hear what you guys enjoy eating. Tofu ryori in Japanese is tofu cooking, or cooking with tofu. It's one of my favorite Japanese classes of food to eat. Alright, so this is just about done. I'm going to do it a little bit longer. Okay, so my pan is starting to smoke, so it's just about ready to be used. I'm going to go ahead and put the Yamaimo mixture on top of the nori, the first sheet. There's 2 sheets here. So you just do one at a time. Okay. So there's that little bit. Let me get a spatula. Where was that? There's that spatula. I'm going to just dip this in the olive oil here to help me spread. And you want the layer of tofu to be about 1/4 inch thick. You can do it thicker if you want. It's totally up to you. But that's about the thickness of unagi. So if you're trying to be realistic and mimic that, that's about how thick you want this to be. And I've seen some recipes where they use like a blowtorch to brown the top part, so it actually looks like it was grilled. The tofu was grilled. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so there's the first little bit. I'm going to go ahead and you can actually put little imprints on here to make it look like there's texture. You know how like if you've seen unagi before, it has little lines along the bones. So if you want to try to duplicate that, you can just do little marks with your fork. It's totally optional. It's just for aesthetics. Okay, and then now I'm just going to cut this. So I'm going to cut it 4 ways. And these are about maybe 1.5 inches thick. These are going to be little squares today. And by the way, if you're wondering why we're using seaweed, it's because the seaweed is supposed to be like the eel skin. So it looks quite like it. Because eel skin is dark. So these little pieces are coming apart nicely. You want to make sure that you're using a sharp knife so that they don't stick together, that you make cuts all the way through. We can go ahead and start frying these. Turn the heat back up there. It's okay if there's a little bit stuck together. So, the first time I had this, I was so impressed. So I have not seen this served in any restaurants, but again, there's millions, there's not millions, there's like thousands of restaurants in Japan, and I haven't had a chance to go to all of them yet. So maybe there is a restaurant that serves this. Okay, space for a couple more. So again, seaweed side up, these aren't going to fit, so we'll just wait for the next batch. And we can go ahead and put that there, serve some rice. Oh yeah, nice and hot. Actually, I'm going to spread this out. So here's the gohan, or the rice. Make some space here so you can see. And check on the unagi bits. Put a little paper towel on a plate to soak up excess oil. All right, so these are nicely browning already. I'll just show you what it looks like. You don't want it too dark, so that's about good enough for me. Again, just cook it until it turns lightly brown. If you want additional crunchy texture, what you can do is put katakuriko on both sides of the tofu patties, and that'll give it a little bit of a crunch. It's the same stuff that I use when I make agadashi tofu, which is the fried tofu that's very popular. Oh yeah, nice and brown. Okay, so we'll just stop with this bit. We'll continue cooking the rest after we're done, since these are ready to go. So here's how they look. You can see they get brown pretty quickly, so you gotta watch close. Make sure that they don't burn. And now we can just layer it on top as if it was unagi. So just put one there, put one there. My tare is just about done, it looks like. A couple pieces there. Oops. All right, that one's just gonna go like that. I'm not gonna be too picky about it and just put a big piece right on top. So go ahead and put some of the tare on. I think it's done. Let me check. Oh yeah, so it's thickened up very nicely, as you can see. It smells so good. Maybe one day we will be able to transmit the sense of smell with technology moving so quickly as it is. So let's go ahead and pour some of this on. You guys ready? Oh yeah, look at that. It looks so good. The only thing better than this is the real thing, unagi of course, which I love. It is pretty expensive. It's almost 20 times more expensive than this piece of tofu that we used. And now we can put on some of the sansho pepper. And dinner is served. So this is my Tofu Kabayaki. It's not mystery meat. We use tofu, so we know what's in it. Has plenty of sansho pepper that I just dumped on because I love it. Let's go ahead and taste this. All right, we're just gonna use chopsticks that don't match. All right, it's been a while. So good. Love this. The nori adds a lot of flavor on its own, so if you like nori, and you like one of my favorite nigiri, excuse me, one of my favorite pieces of sushi is the unagi sushi, which when they make it with the onigiri, so it's like a little piece of rice, the shari, and they put the unagi on top and they brush it with the tare. It's just like this, but that's all it is. So it's just unagi don, basically. All right, so I think that's going to be it for today. I got to get going. I'm going to be going to a conference called VidCon, which is supposed to be one of the larger conferences for YouTubers like me. Hopefully I'll be able to meet some other creators of videos and learn something new and improve my videos going forward. So I hope that you guys are enjoying my videos. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you have any requests, if you think that anything can be improved, let me know also. I know that I'm just still learning. And yes, Vicky, this is good. And by the way, Oran, this video is just for you. This is the seaweed recipe that I promised last week. So I hope you get a chance to try this. And yeah, so in closing, next week I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet. I think I might do a recipe with dashi, a little bit more dashi recipes, maybe something with eggplant, since it's the season now for Japanese eggplant. Or, I don't know yet. I guess we'll see how I feel. Or if you have any requests, let me know. And so yeah, that's about it for today. Appreciate you guys joining, and I hope this is inspiring. I hope you get a chance to make it. It's one of my favorite tofu recipes. I'm trying to eat more tofu these days, and I'm actually working on a series of tofu recipes that may potentially end up in a cookbook of mine. So I will keep you guys updated on that. And yeah, you will have to watch the rerun with Vicky. The tofu was just basically lightly pan fried on a little bit of olive oil, and that's about it. So yeah, appreciate the feedback there. I don't know if I'm a star yet. Maybe in a couple of years you can consider me a star. I don't know, we'll see how things go. But yeah, I gotta get going, so thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet to my YouTube channel, consider subscribing. Any comments, questions, feedback, let me know in the comments below. I will read and respond to each and every one of them. And next week, Wednesday, 6 o'clock Pacific time, I will see you again for another episode of Japanese Live Cooking. And that's it for now. So, all right, see you guys later.